I slid under my car and saw the brake lines cut clean through. My hands shook as I called the one person I knew could help. My ex-husband's business rival. He arrived with his lawyer and said, "We need to talk about your son." What he told me made everything clear. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like and comment from which part of the world you are watching. Get comfortable and relax. Let's begin. The smell of oil and damp concrete filled my nose as I lay on my back on the cold garage floor. The flashlight beam trembled in my hand. I was looking for a slow leak in the tire. I found something else. The brake line was severed. It was a clean cut, a precise horizontal slice through the rubber and metal tubing. It was not worn, it was not frayed, it was cut. My breath stopped. The trembling moved from my hand to my core. I pushed myself out from under the sedan, the rough concrete scraping my elbows. I stood up and stared at the car. It was just a car. An ordinary 6-year-old sedan I used for errands and client meetings. I had driven it to the grocery store that morning. I had driven my son, Jordan, to the train station yesterday. The brakes had felt normal. They would have failed catastrophically the next time I pressed the pedal hard. On the highway ramp. At a stoplight with cross traffic. This was not an accident. This was a message. A permanent one. I walked into the kitchen, my movements slow and deliberate. I washed my hands at the sink, watching the grease swirl down the drain. The house was quiet. Jordan was at his internship in the city. The silence felt different now. It felt occupied. My phone was on the counter. My pride was a physical weight in my throat. I scrolled through my contacts, past friends, past family, past the few numbers I had for my ex-husband, Robert. I found the entry I had not used in over 3 years, Marcus Thorne. The name looked foreign on my screen. I pressed call. It rang 4 times. I expected voicemail. I was preparing a concise message. Denise. His voice was flat, unsurprised. "This is unexpected." "Something has happened," I said. My voice was steady. I was grateful for that. "I need you to come to my house. I need a witness. I need someone who understands the law and who he is." There was a pause. I heard the faint sound of keyboard keys in the background. "Is it urgent?" "Someone cut the brake lines on my car. I found it minutes ago." The keyboard sound stopped. The line was silent for 3 full seconds. "Do not touch anything else. Do not call the police yet. I am leaving now. I will bring Rebecca." He ended the call. I placed the phone on the counter. I did not sit down. I stood in the middle of my living room and looked at the space I had built, the sofa I had saved for, the bookshelves Jordan and I assembled, the quiet testament to a life rebuilt. It felt fragile now, like a set piece. 25 minutes later, a dark luxury car pulled into my driveway. Its engine was a low hum that ceased abruptly. 2 doors opened and closed. I watched from the window. Marcus Thorne emerged, tall and dressed in a suit that cost more than my monthly mortgage. His posture was rigid. A woman followed him, younger, with sharp eyes and a leather folio under her arm. Rebecca, the lawyer. I met them at the front door. I did not smile. "Show me," Marcus said. No greeting. I led them through the side door to the garage. I handed Marcus the flashlight. He took it without a word and lowered himself to the floor with a stiffness that betrayed his age. He slid under my car. I watched his polished shoes. Rebecca stood beside me, her eyes cataloging the garage, the tools on their pegboard, the recycling bins. Marcus slid back out. He stood up, brushing invisible dust from his trousers. His expression was grim. "You are correct. It is deliberate. A professional cut. They knew what to look for." "Who is they?" Rebecca asked. Her voice was cool, professional. "We should talk inside," Marcus said, looking at me. We moved to the living room. I did not offer them a drink. We sat, Marcus on the armchair, Rebecca on the sofa, her folio open on her lap. I remained standing. "You believe this is Robert," I stated. "I do," Marcus said. The method is crude but effective. It has his particular signature, a solution that removes a problem and frames it as a tragic accident. No messy confrontation, no direct link. Why now? I asked. Our divorce was finalized 5 years ago. The financial settlement is done. He has his new life. I have mine. We have minimal contact. Marcus leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. He steepled his fingers. This is not about the past. This is about the present. This is about containment. You are a problem because of your connection to Jordan, and Jordan has become a problem for him. A cold wave washed over me. What has Jordan done? He has likely done nothing at all, Rebecca interjected, her tone measured. He may have seen something, heard something, without realizing its significance. Marcus nodded. For the last 18 months, Robert has been systematically diverting funds from our partnership. Creative accounting, falsified invoices. It is substantial. I have been piecing it together quietly. I believe Jordan, during his internship at the firm last summer, may have accessed a file or seen a transaction he should not have. He may have mentioned it to you, or Robert may simply believe he did. Robert cannot risk exposure. Your son's loyalty to you is a variable he cannot control. I looked at the photograph of Jordan on the mantel, his graduation smile. My heart was a hard, cold stone in my chest. So he would kill me. To isolate Jordan, to frighten him into silence, or to discredit me if I ever spoke up. It is a possibility, Rebecca said. A mother's tragic death in a car accident would be a powerful distraction. It would emotionally destabilize a young man. It would make him reliant on his remaining parent. The sympathetic, successful father. Any odd behavior from Jordan afterward could be attributed to grief. The logic was clear. It was a business plan, a risk assessment. I was a liability to be eliminated. You called me because you knew I had a vested interest in Robert's downfall, Marcus said. You knew I would believe you. The police would see a divorced woman, a single-car accident, a possible maintenance oversight. They would see what Robert would want them to see. I called you, I said, my voice low, because you are the only person I know who hates him as much as I do right now. A faint, grim approximation of a smile touched Marcus's lips. It vanished quickly. Then we understand each other. But you must understand the stakes. This was not a warning. This was an attempt. It failed. He will try again. A different method, perhaps more direct. What do you propose? I asked. Rebecca spoke. We proceed on 2 fronts. First, we secure your immediate safety. We document this. We will have a trusted mechanic come, photograph the damage, and replace the line. We create a record. Second, we accelerate our own investigation. We need evidence of the embezzlement, concrete evidence. We need to find what Jordan might have seen. I will not involve Jordan in this, I said. He may already be involved, Marcus replied. His safety is also a concern. Robert's affection for him is real, but it is conditional. It is secondary to his own preservation. We need to know what Robert thinks Jordan knows. I finally sat down. The weight of it was too much to hold up. I looked at Marcus, this man who had been my adversary in a long, cold war fought through lawyers and financial statements. Why are you doing this? You could use this information to leverage him out of the company. You do not need to protect me. Marcus held my gaze. His eyes were tired. Because 20 years ago, he used my ideas to start that firm. He cut me out of the initial partnership until a lawsuit forced his hand. He is a parasite. He consumes people. He consumed you for a time. He is trying to consume his own son's future. I am tired of it. This is not leverage. This is removal. The digital clock on the stove changed numbers. The afternoon light was fading. A normal evening in a normal house. We need to talk about your son, Marcus said. We need to decide what to tell him and when. His proximity to Robert is now a danger, to himself and to you. I looked at the brake fluid stain on my thumb, a dark smudge against my skin. The rage was there, a silent, expanding pressure behind my ribs, but it was useless alone. I needed it to be cold. I needed it to be sharp. I needed it to be a tool. "Tell me what to do first," I said. Rebecca opened her folio. "First, we document. I will call a contact at an independent garage. He will come with a tow truck, take photographs, and replace the line. He will provide a written report stating the cause was deliberate sabotage. We will keep that report secure. You will have a functional vehicle by tonight." "Second," Marcus continued, "we need to understand what Jordan encountered. You said he interned in the accounting department last summer? Is that correct?" I nodded. "He was a junior data assistant. He mostly organized digital files. He mentioned it was boring." "Robert's scheme is not complex," Marcus said, his voice low and precise. "It involves shell companies, inflated invoices for services never rendered. The payments are made to accounts he controls. The paper trail is thin, but it exists. It relies on no one looking too closely at a specific set of vendor codes. Jordan's role would have given him access to the main server where invoice records are stored. He could have seen a pattern without recognizing it. Or he could have mentioned a strange vendor name to Robert in passing," Rebecca added. "Something innocuous. Robert's paranoia would have done the rest." The thought of my son's casual conversation becoming a death sentence for me was a cold, sharp fact I filed away. "What are the vendor names?" "They are bland," Marcus said. "Apex Logistics, Consolidated Office Solutions. The invoices are for things like network infrastructure maintenance or consultancy fees. They are mixed in with legitimate ones. The amounts are not astronomical individually, but they are consistent. Over 18 months, they exceed $700,000. The number hung in the quiet room. It was more than the value of my home. It was a motive. "My plan," Marcus said, "was to gather irrefutable evidence, then present it to the board and the authorities simultaneously. Force a forensic audit. But Robert is nervous. Your brake line indicates he may suspect an internal investigation is already underway. He is cleaning house. You are part of the house. So, we need to accelerate your timeline," I said. "Exactly. And we need to access Jordan's personal laptop, the one he used for the internship. He may have downloaded files or saved work or even have browser history that shows what he accessed. He would not have known to delete it." A protective instinct, hard and immediate, rose in me. "I will not have you dig through his computer without his knowledge." "Denise," Rebecca said, her tone softening a degree, "this is the least invasive option. The alternative is to question him directly, which would alert him and potentially put him in greater danger if he confronts Robert. Or we do nothing, and the next attempt on your life succeeds. We need to see what is there." I looked at Marcus. "You have the technical ability to do this?" "I have a person," he said, discreet. "They can examine the device remotely if we can get physical access for 10 minutes. They only look for specific file types and history related to the firm's servers. Nothing else." I walked to the window. Jordan's train would be home in 2 hours. He would go straight to his room, plug in his laptop, and start studying or watching videos. He was a creature of habit. My house, my rules had always included a respect for his privacy. This would break that. "He has a study group on Thursday nights," I said, my back to them. "He leaves at 7. He is usually gone for 3 hours. You can have your person here at 7:15. "Good," Marcus said. I heard the rustle of paper as Rebecca made a note. "Third," Rebecca said, "your immediate safety. Robert may be watching the house. He will know his attempt failed when you are still alive and your car is still moving. He may try to contact you to gauge your reaction." "What should my reaction be?" I asked, turning around. "Normalcy," Marcus stated. "You are a busy woman. You had car trouble, you got it fixed. You are annoyed at the inconvenience. You are preoccupied with your bookkeeping business. You have no reason to suspect him of anything. If he calls, be brief. Be normal. Normal. The word felt absurd. There was a knock at the side door. A man in coveralls stood there, a tow truck idling in my driveway. Rebecca stood and went to greet him. She spoke to him in low tones. He nodded, his eyes glancing at me once with neutral curiosity. For the next hour, my garage was a crime scene that was not officially a crime scene. The mechanic, a man named Leo, took dozens of photographs with a digital camera. He placed a ruler next to the severed line for scale. He used a handheld light. He was efficient and silent. He then hooked my car to the tow truck and took it away to replace the line. Rebecca handed him a cash envelope before he left. "The report will be emailed to me by tomorrow," she said, returning to the living room. "I will forward you a copy." The sun had set. The room was lit by the lamps I had bought at a yard sale. The warm light felt like a lie. "We should go," Marcus said, standing. "We have outlined the initial steps. We will be in touch tomorrow after the computer examination. Do not change your routine. Do not show fear. That is your armor for now." They left as quietly as they had arrived. The luxury car pulled away. I locked the door. I walked through each room of the house, checking the windows. I had never done this before. I realized how many blind spots there were, how vulnerable the backyard was. At 6:45, Jordan came home. I heard his key in the lock, his backpack hitting the floor by the stairs. "Hey, Mom," he called out. I was in the kitchen chopping vegetables for a stir-fry. The rhythm of the knife was steady. "Hey, sweetie, how was the train?" "Crowded." He came into the kitchen, opening the refrigerator. He was tall, like his father, but his smile was mine. Or it used to be. "Car okay? I saw it was gone." "It had a brake fluid leak," I said, not looking up from the cutting board. "It's at the shop. Leo's getting it fixed. Should be back tomorrow." The lie was smooth. I used the name of the mechanic from the neighborhood shop I usually went to. "Annoying," he said, taking a bottle of water. "Need help?" "No, I'm good. You have your study group, right?" "Yeah, leaving in a bit. We're prepping for a finance exam." He leaned against the counter. "Dad called me today. He invited me to lunch this Saturday at the Capitol Grill." I kept chopping. The knife made a clean sound against the wood. "That's nice of him." "Yeah. He said he wants to talk about a potential full-time position at the firm after graduation, in the investment wing, not accounting." He sounded excited. He admired the shine of his father's world, the crisp suits, the talk of portfolios and markets. He did not see the rot underneath. "That's a great opportunity," I said, my voice even. "You should listen to what he offers." "I will?" He paused. "He asked about you, how you were doing." I placed the knife down. "What did you say?" "I said you were fine, busy with work, the usual." He took a sip of water. "He said to tell you hello." "That was polite of him," I said. The words tasted like ash. Jordan went upstairs to get his things. I listened to his footsteps above me. I thought about Robert's plan, a lunch at an expensive steakhouse, a job offer, the caring father securing his son's future, while his hired hand perhaps prepared to cut another line or rig another accident. It was a comprehensive strategy. Isolate the threat. Secure the asset. At 7 o'clock, Jordan came down, gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, and left. I watched his car pull away. At 7:12, a nondescript sedan parked down the street. A woman in her 30s, dressed in jeans and a hoodie, walked to my door with a small bag. I let her in. "Denise, I'm Chloe. Mr. Thorne sent me." Her demeanor was professional, devoid of small talk. "Where's the device?" I led her to Jordan's room. It was tidy, his laptop on his desk still plugged in. "You have 10 minutes, I said. He is very particular about his things." "I will not disturb anything," she said. She put on thin gloves, opened the laptop, and inserted a small USB drive. Her fingers flew over the keys. Lines of code scrolled on the screen. I am running a script that searches for server access logs, specific file names related to vendor payments, and any external downloads from the firm's internal network between June and August of last year. It will copy any relevant data to this encrypted drive. I stood in the doorway, a sentry. The violation felt profound. The glow of the monitor illuminated her focused face. I watched the clock on Jordan's nightstand. At 7:22, she ejected the drive, closed the laptop, and made sure it was positioned exactly as it had been. Done. The script found a cluster of activity on July 18th. Multiple accesses to a vendor payment archive folder. The user downloaded a summary spreadsheet. That file is not on this hard drive, so it was likely deleted or saved to a cloud service he no longer uses. The access pattern is consistent with someone compiling data, perhaps for a report. Could it have been part of his normal duties? I asked. Possibly, but the folder he accessed is not one a summer intern would typically need. It is 2 directory levels deeper than standard invoice processing. She stood. This is circumstantial, but it confirms he was in the area where the manipulated files would be. If someone was monitoring server activity, they would have seen his unique login ID poking around in a restricted zone. She left as quietly as she had come. I returned to the kitchen. The vegetables waited in the bowl. I did not cook them. I sat at the table in the dark. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Chloe reported her findings. Significant. Robert's monitoring software would have flagged Jordan's access. This is the trigger. Another text followed. We need to meet tomorrow. Your place, 10 a.m. We have a plan. I did not reply. I looked at the empty stir-fry bowl, the uncooked food. The normal life was over. Now there was only the work. The careful, precise work of dismantling the man who wanted me dead. I picked up the knife from the cutting board and washed it slowly under hot water. I dried it and put it away. The first move had been his. The next move would be mine. The text from Marcus was a pinpoint of light in the dark kitchen. I did not sleep. I sat at the table and worked. I reviewed ledgers for my clients, small businesses that needed their books balanced. The numbers were orderly. They followed rules. They gave me a sense of control that the rest of my life lacked. At dawn, I showered, dressed in my usual jeans and a simple sweater, and made coffee. I performed the rituals of normalcy. Jordan came down at 8:30, his hair still damp. Car back? He asked, pouring cereal. Leo said by noon, I replied. How was the study group? Productive. I think I'm ready for the test. He sat across from me. You're up early. Client work, the Henderson account. This was true. I had actually done the work. He ate in silence for a moment. Mom, is everything okay? You seem quiet. I looked at him. My son. His concern was genuine. It was the weapon Robert was using against us. I'm fine, honey, just tired, and a little stressed about the car repair bill, but it will be fine. I offered a small smile. It felt stiff on my face. He nodded, accepting the explanation. It was plausible. Money was a constant low-grade stress in our home. He finished his breakfast and went back upstairs to get ready for his classes. At 10 o'clock exactly, Marcus's car pulled up. Rebecca was with him again. They entered without ceremony. We sat at my kitchen table this time. The morning light was harsh on the polished surface. The computer analysis confirms it, Marcus began, placing a thin file on the table. On July 18th, Jordan accessed a protected server directory. The files there contained the preliminary payment approvals for the fake vendors. He downloaded a summary report. It is likely he was gathering data for a bulk filing task, and this folder was included in a batch search. He would not have understood the significance. But Robert's system monitors all access to that directory, Rebecca continued. An alert would have gone to the head of security, who reports directly to Robert. Robert would have seen his own son's employee ID on that report. He would have panicked. So he questioned Jordan, I said. We believe so. Marcus said. And Jordan, having no idea what he'd seen, would have given an innocent answer. Just pulling files for the monthly archive, Dad. But Robert could not be sure. He could not risk that Jordan might remember something later or mention it to you. Your influence over Jordan is substantial. You are a risk factor. I understood the calculus. Eliminate the risk. What is the plan? Marcus opened the file. It contained a diagram of what looked like a network with names and boxes. Robert's scheme has a weakness. The money does not stay in the shell company accounts. He moves it. He's been funneling it into a private investment fund he controls in the Cayman Islands. To do that, he needs digital authorization keys from the company's chief financial officer, who is a figurehead, and from one other partner. You, I said. Yes. He forged my digital signature on the transfer orders. I have proof of the forgeries, but that only proves the transfer was unauthorized. It does not definitively prove he was the one who initiated it and stole the money. He could blame a rogue IT person. We need to link him directly to the shell companies. The ownership records are hidden behind layers of foreign LLCs. We cannot penetrate that in time. He pointed to a box on the diagram labeled Apex Logistics. But we have a different angle. The payments from Carson and Briggs to Apex are made via a domestic bank. The account is under the name of a nominee, but the point of contact for the bank is a phone number. We have traced that number. It is a disposable cell, but it receives automated text alerts for large deposits. So? I asked. So, Rebecca said, leaning forward. We trigger a deposit, a large one, from a new, seemingly legitimate client. We make it appear that Apex Logistics is securing a new business contract. The bank alert will go to that phone. If Robert is monitoring that phone, and we believe he is because it's his lifeline to the money, he will see it. He will be confused. He will need to investigate. He will need to access the account, or make a call from a traceable line or meet with his nominee. We will be watching. What is my role? My voice was calm. This was a problem to be solved. Your role is the trigger, Marcus said. You own a small business. You have a business checking account. We will provide the funds. You will, under your business name, Denise Watkins Bookkeeping Services, issue a wire transfer to Apex Logistics. The amount will be $25,000. It will be for consulting services. You will have a fake contract drafted by Rebecca to support it. It will look completely legitimate if anyone glances at it. And when Robert investigates this unexpected payment, I said, you will be tracking him. Yes, we have a private investigator ready. He will be monitoring the bank's security footage, the phone records we can obtain via a subpoena we are preparing, and the nominee we have identified. The goal is to capture Robert making contact, a photograph of him meeting the nominee, or a recording of a phone call where he discusses the Apex account. And the money? The $25,000? It is my money, Marcus said. Consider it an investment. The funds will be frozen once Robert takes the bait, and we have our evidence and return to me through legal channels later. Your risk is minimal. You are simply a client paying an invoice. I looked at the diagram. It was a trap, a financial snare. It used Robert's own greed and paranoia against him. He will know it is me, my business name, on the transfer. He will see it, Rebecca acknowledged. That is part of the calculation. It will unnerve him further. Why is his ex-wife, who has no connection to logistics, paying his shell company? Is it a coincidence? Is it a message? His reaction will be valuable data, but he cannot accuse you of anything without exposing his connection to Apex. He will be forced to investigate quietly. It escalates the conflict, I stated. It does, Marcus said. But the conflict is already escalated. He cut your brakes. We are moving from defense to offense. This is a controlled, nonviolent offensive move. We are playing on his turf, money and secrecy. I stood up and walked to the window. My car was not back yet. The street was empty. When? The transfer needs to be initiated tomorrow morning to hit the account by afternoon, Rebecca said. We will provide you with the routing information and the exact wording for the wire. You go to your bank in person. It is less traceable to us that way." "And Jordan?" I asked, still looking out the window. "He is having lunch with Robert on Saturday to discuss a job." Marcus was silent for a moment. "That is unfortunate timing, but it cannot be helped. You cannot cancel it without raising suspicion. Jordan must go to that lunch. He must act normally. Our operation may yield results before then. If it does, Robert may be too distracted to even show up." The idea of my son sitting across from that man, smiling while I set a trap for him, made my stomach tighten. I do not like using my son as a prop. "We are not using him," Marcus said, his tone firm. "We are protecting him by ending this quickly. Every day this continues, you are both in danger. A quick, sharp strike is the safest course." I turned to face them. "I will do it. Provide me the instructions." Rebecca took a sealed envelope from her bag and placed it on the table. "Everything is inside. Memorize the details, then destroy the paper. The wire must be for exactly $25,200. The 200 is a detail that makes it look authentic. Use the reference code provided." I picked up the envelope. It was heavy, high-quality paper. "And after I initiate the transfer?" "You go about your day. You wait. We will contact you when we have something." Marcus stood. "Your courage is noted, Denise." "It is not courage," I said, looking at the envelope. "It is arithmetic. The risk of action is lower than the risk of inaction." A faint nod. He and Rebecca left. I opened the envelope. The instructions were precise. Bank address, account number, routing number, reference code. A sample of what I should say to the teller. I read it 3 times, then took a lighter from the drawer and held the paper over the kitchen sink. I watched the flame consume the words, the edges curling into black ash. I rinsed the ashes down the drain. My car was delivered at 11:45. Leo, the mechanic, handed me the keys. "All fixed," he said. "Brake line replaced. System flushed and refilled. Good as new." His eyes met mine, and he gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. He was part of Rebecca's network. He knew. I thanked him and paid him with cash from the emergency fund in the cookie jar. The car looked the same. It felt different. That afternoon, I picked up groceries. I called a client to discuss a deduction. I lived inside the performance of normal life. Inside, I was a coiled spring, waiting for tomorrow, waiting to become the bait in my own trap. The anger was there, but it had been refined into a single clear purpose. Follow the instructions. Do not miss a step. Win the game. When Jordan came home that evening, he was talking about his upcoming lunch again, about the questions he should ask his father about the job. I listened and nodded and made appropriate sounds. I looked at his face, so open and trusting, and I knew I was doing this for him. To make his world safe again, even if he never knew the cost. That night, I checked every window and door twice. I placed a kitchen chair under the knob of my bedroom door. It was a flimsy barricade, but it was action, a statement. I was no longer just waiting for the next attack. I was preparing for it. The line had been crossed. There was no going back to before the cut. There was only forward, into the fight. The morning of the wire transfer, I woke before my alarm. The chair was still wedged under the bedroom door handle. I moved it, the sound loud in the quiet house. My routine was mechanical: shower, dress, coffee. I chose a navy blue blouse and black trousers. I wanted to look professional, unremarkable. I reviewed the memorized details in my mind. The account number was a string of digits etched behind my eyes. Jordan was still asleep. I left a note on the kitchen counter saying I had an early meeting with a client. This was true. The client was the fiction Marcus and I had created. My bank was a local branch 10 minutes away. I arrived as they opened at 9. The lobby was bright, sterile. A few elderly customers were already at the teller windows. I approached a woman with a placard that read Monica. I need to initiate a domestic wire transfer, I said, my voice steady. I place my business checkbook and driver's license on the counter. Of course, Monica said. She handed me a form. Fill this out completely. Recipient name, address, bank routing number, account number, and the amount. I took the pen. My hand did not shake. I wrote Apex Logistics in block letters. I used the address Rebecca had provided, a postal box in Delaware. I wrote the routing and account numbers. I wrote the amount, $25,200. In the memo line, I wrote Consulting Services, invoice number AL1142. I slid the form back. Monica input the data into her computer. Her fingers tapped efficiently. This is a same-day wire. The funds will be debited from your account immediately and should be received by the recipient's bank this afternoon. There is a $30 fee. That's fine, I said. She printed a confirmation slip. It listed all the details. It had a transaction reference code. She stamped it and asked me to sign. I did. The pen glided smoothly. Is there anything else? She asked. No, that's all. Thank you. I walked out of the bank, the confirmation slip folded in my pocket. The morning sun was bright. I got into my car and sat there for a full minute, my hands on the wheel. The first move was made. The bait was in the water. Now I had to wait for the predator to sniff it. I drove to a diner a few miles away, one I sometimes used for client meetings. I ordered tea and sat in a booth by the window. I took out my personal phone and sent a single text to the number Marcus had given me. Wire complete. Confirmation code 7Z449R. The reply came 2 minutes later. Acknowledged. Proceed with day. Monitor this line. I finished my tea. I paid. I drove to the community center where I volunteered once a month, helping with their books. It was a Thursday, and I was not scheduled, but my presence would be noted. It was part of the performance of normalcy. I spent 2 hours there, sorting donation receipts. The work was mindless and calming. At 1 o'clock, my phone vibrated. A call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a text from the same number appeared. Denise, it's Robert. Please call me when you get a moment. My breath caught. The reaction was already starting. I waited 15 minutes, then stepped outside the community center into a small courtyard. I called him back. He answered on the first ring. Denise, thank you for calling back. His voice was smooth. The practiced charm turned to a medium setting. Robert, what is it? I'm with a client. I kept my tone brisk, slightly inconvenienced. I won't keep you, Jordan mentioned you had some car trouble. Everything all right? He was probing, testing. It was a leak, all fixed, just an annoying expense. I'm sorry to hear that. If you need help with the bill, you know I'm happy to... I have it handled, Robert, thank you. I cut him off, my voice cool. A pause. I could almost hear him thinking. Of course. Well, the reason I called... I'm having lunch with Jordan on Saturday. I wanted to make sure that was still all right with you. I know we have our arrangement, but I always like to check in. The manipulation was exquisite, framing his lethal suspicion as considerate co-parenting. It's fine. He's looking forward to it. He mentioned a job possibility. Yes, a great opportunity. I want to support him. Another pause, heavier this time. Denise, this might sound odd. My accounting team flagged a transaction this morning, a payment from your business to a vendor called Apex Logistics. For consulting, it just seemed out of the ordinary for you. I wanted to make sure it was legitimate. Fraud is so common these days. He had taken the bait. He had seen my name and reacted within hours. The panic was disguised as professional concern. I forced a light, dismissive laugh. It sounded foreign to my own ears. Oh, that. Yes, it's legitimate. A referral from a client. They needed some specialized logistics consulting for a tax issue. It's a one-off thing. I appreciate you looking out, but it's fine. A referral? Which client? The question was too quick, too sharp. The Henderson Group. You remember Ben Henderson? I used the name of a real client, one Robert had met years ago. I think so. Okay, as long as you're sure. I just worry. His voice relaxed a fraction, but the tension was still there. I'm sure. Now, I really have to go. Tell Jordan I said hello on Saturday. I ended the call. I leaned against the brick wall of the courtyard. My heart was pounding a rapid rhythm against my ribs. I had done it. I had lied to him directly, and he had swallowed it, but he was not satisfied. He was worried. Apex was his secret, and my name was now attached to it. He would have to move. He would have to check. My secure phone buzzed, a message from Marcus. He bit. He just accessed the Apex account online from his office computer. Our tracker confirms it. The investigator is en route to the nominee's location. Well done. I put the phone away. The first part was over. Now the surveillance began. I went back inside and finished my work at the community center. My hands were steady as I filed the papers. That evening, Jordan was full of energy about his lunch. He practiced his questions about the job. I listened and smiled and died a little inside. I wanted to tell him not to go. I wanted to tell him his father was a thief and a would-be murderer. But I could not. The trap needed to close first. After he went to bed, I received another message, this one from Rebecca. Nominee was met at a parking garage by an unidentified male. Photos acquired, low quality. Male matches Robert's build and gait. Meeting was brief. Nominee then went to the bank and withdrew $9,000 in cash. Robert is likely consolidating or moving funds. This is good. He is rattled. I wrote back. What next? Her reply was simple. We wait. He will make another move. Be prepared. I did not ask what to be prepared for. I knew. The attempt on the brakes had failed. The financial trap was snapping shut around him. He would not just sit and wait for prison. A cornered animal is most dangerous. Robert was now cornered. The next move would not be a cut brake line. It would be something else, something direct. I checked every window and door again. I placed the chair under my knob. This time, I also took a heavy, cast-iron skillet from the kitchen and placed it on the floor beside my bed. It was not a weapon. It was a tool for survival. I lay in the dark, listening to the sounds of the house, and planned for the next day. The performance of normalcy was becoming harder to maintain. The line between the act and the real threat was blurring. I was no longer just setting a trap. I was living inside it. The cast-iron skillet remained on the floor beside my bed all night. I did not sleep deeply. Every creak of the house was a footstep. Every gust of wind was a hand on the doorknob. When the gray light of dawn filtered through the blinds, I got up, my body stiff with tension. Friday. Jordan's lunch with Robert was tomorrow. I had one day to see if the trap would spring shut. I moved through the morning routine by rote. Jordan was quieter than usual, preoccupied with his upcoming meeting. He left for class at 9. I had a full day of work scheduled at my home office, a converted sunroom at the back of the house where I kept my desk, files, and computer. My first task was to process payroll for a small bakery. I logged into my computer, the familiar software loading slowly. The sunroom was warm, the light bright. I worked for an hour, the rhythmic click of the keys a semblance of normalcy. At 10:30, I got up to make more coffee. As I passed the space heater I used on colder mornings, I noticed a faint, acrid smell. It was similar to burnt plastic, but very subtle. I had not used the heater in weeks, as the weather was mild. I knelt down to inspect it. The unit was plugged into a power strip, which was plugged into the wall outlet behind my desk. I traced the smell to the power strip. It was a basic model, with 6 outlets. I leaned closer. The smell was stronger near the back. I carefully unplugged the strip from the wall and turned it over. The plastic casing on the back looked normal. I then examined the plug that went into the wall. The prongs were slightly discolored, a darkening at the base where they met the plastic. A cold clarity settled over me. I went to the kitchen and retrieved a screwdriver from a drawer. I returned to the sunroom, closed the door, and knelt behind the desk. I unscrewed the single screw holding the plastic plug casing together. The two halves came apart in my hands. Inside, the wiring was a mess. The green ground wire had been disconnected completely. The black and white wires had been stripped and twisted together, then wrapped with a thin, melting tape that was not electrical grade. It was a crude but effective sabotage. If I had plugged in the heater and turned it on, the power strip would have overloaded. It could have sparked, caused a fire, or delivered a severe electrical shock. In my small, wood-floored sunroom filled with paper, a fire would have spread quickly. This was not a warning. It was another attempt, quieter than the brakes, but just as final. It would have been ruled an accident. A faulty power strip. A tragic house fire. A single mother overcome by smoke while working. I did not touch the wires further. I reassembled the plug casing and placed it on my desk. My hands were steady. The anger was a solid, cold block of ice in my chest. He had been inside my home. He had been in this room, at my desk, while I slept or while I was out. He had taken his time to do this. I took my secure phone and called Marcus. He answered immediately. "He was here," I said, my voice flat, "in my home office. He tampered with a power strip. It was rigged to start a fire or electrocute me." A sharp intake of breath on the other end. "When did you find it?" "Just now, I smelled it. The work is crude. It's meant to look like an electrical fault." "Do not touch anything else. We need to document this. But we cannot call the police yet, not without tipping our hand. Are you alone?" "Jordan is at class. I am alone." "I am sending Rebecca. She will bring a forensic technician, a private one. We will document it thoroughly. This changes the timeline, Denise. He is escalating because he is desperate. The wire transfer spooked him. He is trying to tie up loose ends before we can act." "He was in my house," I repeated, the violation settling into my bones. "I know. The lunch with Jordan tomorrow is now a significant concern. Robert may try to use that meeting to extract information from Jordan or to manipulate him further. We may need to intervene." "What does that mean?" I asked, my eyes fixed on the sabotaged plug. "It means we may need to tell Jordan something. Not everything, but enough to ensure his safety and prevent Robert from using him as a tool." I thought of my son's trusting face. The betrayal would break him, but a broken heart was better than a funeral. I will talk to him. Tonight, before the lunch. "Be careful what you say. Do not mention the embezzlement or our investigation. Frame it as a personal safety concern. Say you have reason to believe your divorce conflict has escalated, and you are worried Robert might try to use him to get to you. It is true, in a way." "It is true in every way," I said. "How long until Rebecca arrives?" 20 minutes, sit tight. Do not answer the door for anyone else." I ended the call. I left the sunroom, closing the door behind me. I walked through my house, seeing it with new eyes. Every window latch was a potential point of entry. The lock on the back door seemed flimsy. The sense of sanctuary was gone, replaced by the stark reality of a battlefield. Rebecca arrived with a man in his 40s carrying a technical case. She introduced him as David. I led them to the sunroom without speaking. David put on gloves and began photographing the power strip from every angle. He then used specialized tools to examine the wiring without disturbing it further. He took samples of the tape. "This is amateur work," David said, his voice neutral, "but effective. The tape would have melted under load, causing a direct short. The disconnected ground means any fault current would have traveled through the appliance casing, or through you if you touched it. It's a clear intent to cause harm or death." Rebecca made notes on a tablet. "Can you tell how recently this was done?" David examined the dust around the outlet. "The desk wasn't moved. Someone did this from a cramped position. The dust is disturbed. Within the last 48 hours, I'd estimate. Likely when the house was empty." While they worked, Rebecca pulled me aside into the kitchen. "Marcus is accelerating our plan. The photos from the parking garage are being enhanced. We are also pressuring the nominee. He is a low-level fixer. He is scared. We may be able to flip him, get a statement implicating Robert." "That will take time," I said. "Robert may not have time." "I know, which is why your conversation with Jordan is critical. He cannot go into that lunch blind. Robert will be agitated, paranoid. He may say or do something unpredictable. Jordan needs to be prepared to disengage, to call you if he feels uncomfortable. He will ask for details I cannot give. Then you give him the only detail that matters. You believe his father is dangerous to you, and by extension to him. It is the truth." David finished his work and packed his case. He sealed the power strip in an evidence bag. "I have what I need. I'll write up a report." They left. The house was quiet again, but the silence was now an audible threat. I looked at the clock. Jordan would be home in a few hours. I had to prepare what to say. I had to fracture his world to save him. I sat at the kitchen table, a blank notepad in front of me. I did not write anything. The words would not come from a script. They would have to come from the raw, unvarnished need to keep my child safe. The performance of normalcy was over. Tonight I would have to show him the crack in the world and hope he would not fall through. The cold anger within me now had a new target. The moment I would have to break my son's heart. It was a necessary strike, part of the larger war. I would deliver it with the same precision I intended to use on his father. I waited for Jordan in the living room. I did not turn on the television. I did not pretend to read. I sat in the armchair and watched the daylight fade through the front window. The notepad remained blank on the kitchen table. There was no script for this. I heard his car pull into the driveway at 6:12. The engine cut off. The door opened and closed. His footsteps on the walkway were familiar, a rhythm I had known for over 2 decades. The key turned in the lock. "Hey, I'm home," he called out, dropping his backpack. He walked into the living room and stopped when he saw me. "What's up? You look serious." "Sit down, Jordan. We need to talk." My voice was calm, but it held a weight that made his smile fade. He sat on the edge of the sofa facing me. "Is everything okay? Is it Grandma?" "No, it's about your father." I saw his posture stiffen. "I need to tell you something difficult. I have reason to believe that the conflict between your father and me has escalated beyond lawyers and money. I believe he has become a direct threat to my safety." Jordan stared at me. His expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. "A threat? What does that mean? Like he's harassing you?" "It means someone cut the brake lines on my car last week. It was not a leak. It was sabotage. And yesterday, someone tampered with the electrical wiring in my office, rigging it to start a fire. These were deliberate attempts to cause serious harm, or worse." His face went pale. "Mom, why haven't you called the police?" "Because the evidence, while clear to me, is circumstantial, and because I am working with people who are building a stronger case, a case that goes beyond this." I chose my words with care. "Your father is under significant pressure from his business. He is making dangerous decisions. I believe he sees me as an obstacle to his financial security. And because of your closeness to me, I am worried he may try to use you to apply pressure." Jordan shook his head slowly. "Use me how? He's my dad. He's offering me a job. He wants to help me." I know that is what it looks like, and part of him may believe that. But a person under extreme pressure can rationalize many things. I need you to be very careful at this lunch tomorrow. I need you to be aware. If he asks you questions about me, about my routine, my work, my friends, you need to be vague. If he tries to give you anything or have you deliver something to me, you must refuse. If he says anything that makes you uncomfortable, you leave. You text me a code word, and I will call you with a fake emergency." "A code word?" He looked at me as if I were speaking a foreign language. "This is insane. You're talking about Dad like he's some kind of criminal." "I am talking about a man who is capable of these actions," I said, my tone leaving no room for argument. "The brake line was real, Jordan. The wired plug is in an evidence bag. This is not a theory. My primary concern is your safety. I cannot stop you from going to this lunch, but I am asking you to go with your eyes open." He stood up and paced the length of the room. He ran a hand through his hair. "I don't understand. Why would he do that? He has everything. The big house, the cars, the firm. Why would he risk all that to hurt you?" Because people who have everything are often the most terrified of losing it, and they will do anything to protect it. I paused. There is more to it. Financial irregularities at his firm. He may believe I know something about them, or that you do. Jordan stopped pacing. He turned to look at me, his eyes widening. "The files." The word hung in the air. "What files?" "Last summer, when I was interning, I was organizing the digital archives. There was a folder of vendor invoices. The amount seemed weirdly high for what they were for. Office solutions for like $50,000. I mentioned it to Dad once, just in passing. I said the pricing seemed off. He got really quiet. Then he laughed and said it was a legacy contract from before my time and not to worry about it." He sank back onto the sofa. "You think that's it? Because I asked a dumb question?" "It may be," I said carefully, my mind racing. This was the confirmation Marcus needed. "Did you save anything? Download anything?" Jordan looked down at his hands. I might have. I was making a backup of my work files onto a flash drive at the end of the summer, just to have a portfolio. I think that folder might have been included in the batch. I never looked at it again. The drive is probably in my desk drawer. The evidence. It had been in the house all along. Jordan, I need you to listen to me very carefully. That flash drive is important. It could be the proof that is needed to stop all of this. But it also makes you a target if your father knows you have it. Did you ever tell him you made a backup?" "No, never." His voice was small. "Oh God, this is real." "Yes, it is." I stood and walked over to him. I knelt in front of the sofa so we were eye level. "I need you to give me that flash drive, and then we need to decide what you are going to do tomorrow." He looked at me, his eyes scared. "I can't have lunch with him, not knowing this. If you cancel, it will alert him. It will tell him that you know something is wrong. That could make him more desperate, more dangerous. The people I am working with believe the best course is to proceed, but with extreme caution. You go. You act normal. You talk about the job, about your future. You do not mention me or files or breaks. You are just a son having lunch with his father. Can you do that?" He was silent for a long moment. He looked at the floor, then back at me. I saw the struggle in his face, the idolized image of his father crumbling against the harsh reality I had presented. "I can try," he finally said, "but if he says anything, if he even hints at any of this, I'm leaving." "That is all I ask." I placed a hand on his knee. "Now please go get the flash drive. Do not plug it into any computer. Just bring it to me." He nodded and went upstairs. I heard the sound of his desk drawer opening and closing. He returned with a small blue plastic drive. He handed it to me. It felt insignificant in my palm. "What are you going to do with it?" he asked. "Give it to the people who can use it correctly, to build a legal case that will stop him." I stood up. "You have done nothing wrong, Jordan. You are caught in the middle of something ugly that he created. I am so sorry for that." He didn't hug me. He just stood there, looking lost. "What do I do now?" "You go about your evening. You study. You watch a show. You pretend tonight is a normal Friday night. That is your job right now. Can you do that?" He gave a slow nod. "Yeah, I can try." I left him in the living room and went to my bedroom. I locked the door. I took out the secure phone and sent a message to Marcus. Jordan confirmed he saw irregular invoices. He has a flash drive backup from his internship. It may contain the vendor folder. He never told Robert. I have the drive. The reply was immediate. "Do not examine it. We will collect it tonight. This is the break we needed. Prepare Jordan for tomorrow. The lunch is now a critical intelligence opportunity. Robert's demeanor will tell us much." I I looked at the blue plastic drive. It was a tiny piece of silicon that held the potential to end this, or to ignite it further. I placed it in a small jewelry box and put the box in my pocket. The conversation with Jordan had broken something between us, a trust in the simple narrative of his family, but it had also forged a new, fragile alliance. He was in the truth now. However painful, it was the only ground left to stand on. The performance was over. The real war had just begun, and my son had been drafted onto the front line. Jordan left for the lunch at 12:30. He wore the button-down shirt and slacks he had laid out the night before. His face was pale, set in a mask of concentration. We had agreed on the code word, Grandma. If he texted me that word, I would call him immediately, claiming a family emergency. He promised to keep the conversation light, to focus on the job offer, and to leave at the first sign of pressure. I stood at the window and watched his car turn out of the subdivision. The house was silent, a vacuum waiting to be filled with news. I could not work. I could not sit still. I moved from room to room, checking the locks again, straightening items that were already straight. I made a pot of tea and did not drink it. The secure phone lay on the kitchen counter. At 1:15, it buzzed. A message from Marcus. The flash drive contained the vendor folder and the summary spreadsheet. It is a direct link to the inflated invoices. Our forensic accountant is reviewing. This is conclusive evidence for embezzlement. We are preparing the legal package. I wrote back. Jordan is at lunch with him now. We know. We have a person at the restaurant for visual surveillance. For safety, we'll report. I had not expected that. The thought of a stranger watching my son from across a dining room should have disturbed me. Instead, I felt a grim relief. He was not alone. The minutes ticked by. I tried to focus on a client's ledger on my laptop, but the numbers blurred. At 2 o'clock, my personal phone rang. The screen showed Robert. My throat tightened. I let it go to voicemail. He did not leave a message. At 2:20, the secure phone buzzed again. Marcus. Lunch is concluding. No visible confrontation. Body language is tense. Robert is doing most of the talking. Jordan is listening, nodding. They are shaking hands. Jordan is heading to the restroom. Robert is paying the check. Our observer says Robert appears agitated, checking his phone repeatedly. I released a breath I did not know I was holding. He was coming home. He had gotten through it. 20 minutes later, I heard Jordan's car in the driveway. The engine cut off. The door opened and closed. His footsteps on the walk were slower, heavier than usual. He came inside, his face drawn. "How was it?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. He didn't answer immediately. He dropped his keys on the table and walked into the living room, sinking into the sofa. "It was weird," he said finally. I sat in the armchair across from him. "Tell me." He was off. Super charming at first, talking about the job, the salary, the benefits. It was like a polished presentation. But his eyes were everywhere, checking his phone. Looking around the restaurant, he asked about you. What did he ask? He asked how you were holding up after the car trouble. He said he hoped you weren't too shaken. I said you were fine. Then he asked if you'd been working on anything new, any interesting clients. I said I didn't know that you had a lot of small businesses. He kept circling back to you. It wasn't casual. My hands were clasped tightly in my lap. Go on. Then he got intense. He leaned forward and said that family is the most important thing, that he would do anything to protect our family's future, that sometimes, in business, you have to make hard choices to secure what's yours, and not everyone understands. He said he hoped I understood that loyalty to family comes before anything else. The words were a clear message, even if Jordan did not fully decipher them. What did you say? I said, of course, I believed in family. Then he said, Jordan paused, his voice dropping. He said, I need to know where your loyalty lies, Jordan. If there was ever a conflict, a situation where you had to choose between your mother's version of events and the stability of this family's future, I need to know you would make the right choice. He was staring right at me. The cold block of anger in my chest grew heavier. How did you respond? I didn't know what to say. I just said I hoped it would never come to that. He didn't like that answer. He sat back and his whole face changed. The charm was gone. He said, "It might come to that sooner than you think. Your mother is involving herself in things she doesn't understand. She's making dangerous accusations. If she has anything, any documents, any files that don't belong to her, she needs to give them to me, for her own safety." Then he handed me an envelope. Jordan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a plain white business envelope. He held it as if it were contaminated. He said it was a good faith gesture, a check to cover your car repairs and then some. He said to give it to you and to tell you to think about what's best for everyone. He said, "Tell her to call me. We can still resolve this quietly." I took the envelope. It was not sealed. Inside was a cashier's check made out to me for $15,000. The memo line was blank. It was a bribe, a purchase price for my silence and the flash drive. "Did you text the code word?" I asked. "No, I was too stunned. I just took it. I went to the bathroom to pull myself together. Then I left." I placed the check on the coffee table. "You did well. You got out. You brought me the information." "What does it mean, Mom? Documents that don't belong to her? The flash drive?" "Yes. He knows, or strongly suspects, that evidence exists. He is trying to buy it back and scare me into compliance. The check is proof of his guilt. It's an attempt to settle the matter without violence now that he knows his first attempts failed and that I am not acting alone." Jordan put his head in his hands. "He's really doing this. All of it." "Yes." I picked up the secure phone and sent a message to Marcus. Lunch concluded. Robert gave Jordan an envelope with a $15,000 cashier's check for me, message to return any documents, and call him to resolve quietly. Direct attempt to bribe and intimidate. The reply was swift. "Do not deposit check. Keep as evidence. This is excellent. The pressure is making him reckless. We are ready to move. Can you meet tonight? Your place, 8 p.m. We have a proposal." I looked at my son. His shoulders slumped in defeat. The lunch had not been a confrontation. It had been a recruitment drive that had failed. Robert had shown his hand, and in doing so had pushed his son firmly into my camp. The fragile alliance was now solid. The cost was the destruction of Jordan's image of his father. It was a necessary casualty. "We're meeting with Marcus tonight," I told Jordan. "He has a plan to end this." Jordan looked up, his eyes red-rimmed but clear. "I want to be there." I considered it. He was involved now. He had been used as a messenger. He deserved to hear the plan. "All right, you can be there, but you follow our lead. This is the final stage." He nodded, a new determination settling on his features. The shock was giving way to a cold anger that mirrored my own. The check lay between us on the table, a piece of paper that represented both a threat and a trophy. Robert had tried to buy his way out. He had failed. Now he would face the consequences he had been trying so desperately to avoid. The noose was tightening, and he had just handed us another length of rope. At 8 o'clock precisely, Marcus arrived with Rebecca. Jordan let them in. The atmosphere in the living room was tense, formal. We sat around the coffee table. The $15,000 check was still there, a silent exhibit. Marcus began without preamble. "The evidence from the flash drive is conclusive. Combined with the forged authorizations and the testimony we are extracting from the nominee, we have a prosecutable case for grand larceny and fraud. However, a case is not a conviction. Robert still has resources, influence, and a desperate willingness to harm. We need to deliver this package in a way that neutralizes him immediately." "How?" Jordan asked. His voice was quieter than usual, but steady. "We force a confrontation on our terms," Rebecca said. She placed a tablet on the table, displaying a calendar. "Robert has a standing meeting every Monday morning at 9:30 with his senior partners. It is a video conference. He takes it from his home office. His ritual is precise. He is alone, uninterrupted." Marcus continued. Our plan is to present him with the evidence during that meeting. We will interrupt the video call. We will expose the evidence to his partners in real time. Then we will have law enforcement waiting outside his home to take him into custody the moment the call ends. I studied the calendar. How do we interrupt the call? And how do we get the evidence to his partners? You will deliver it, Marcus said, looking directly at me. A silence fell over the room. Jordan shifted in his seat. She can't go to his house. It's not safe. She will not be alone, Rebecca assured him, and she will not be inside for long. The plan has 3 parts. First, Denise will call Robert tomorrow, Sunday. She will tell him she has considered his offer. She will say she has the documents he wants, but she will only hand them over in person, at his house just before his Monday meeting. She will insist on meeting alone, to talk. This plays to his ego and his desire for control. He will believe he has won. Marcus picked up the thread. Second, you will arrive at his house at 9:15 Monday morning. You will be wearing a concealed camera and microphone. Rebecca and I, along with our legal team, will be monitoring from a vehicle nearby. You will hand him a folder. Inside will be a partial set of the documents, enough to shock him. You will state clearly for the recording that you are returning what he asked for, and that you expect him to honor his promise to leave you and Jordan alone. And third? I asked. Third, at 9:28, I will remotely patch into his video conference system from our vehicle. I will override his presentation screen. I will broadcast the full evidence package, the invoices, the forgeries, the nominee's statement, and the audio feed from your conversation, directly to every partner on that call. They will see and hear everything. His world will collapse in front of his peers in real time. At 9:30, police officers, who will have been briefed and provided with the evidence, will knock on his door. The plan was audacious. It was a theatrical public dismantling. It targeted the 2 things Robert valued most: his professional reputation and his sense of control. What is my role during the confrontation? I needed every detail. Your role is to keep him engaged and in the room until the broadcast begins, to get him to talk, to get him to admit, even indirectly, his actions. The concealed recording is critical. Once the broadcast starts, your job is to leave, immediately. Walk out the front door. We will be there. The police will be arriving. Jordan leaned forward. What if he gets violent? What if he tries to stop her from leaving? That is a risk, Marcus acknowledged, but we believe it is a small one. His first instinct will be to try to stop the broadcast, to disconnect the call. He will be in shock. His focus will be on the screen, on the faces of his partners seeing his crimes. That is your window to exit. We will also have a private security person positioned at the end of his driveway, appearing as a landscaper, monitoring the front door. I looked at the check on the table. This was the opposite of taking a bribe. This was a public shaming and a legal trap rolled into one. It was the perfect revenge, using his own tools, secrecy, presentation, reputation, against him. What do you need me to do? Jordan asked. You will stay here with Rebecca, Marcus said. You will monitor the audio feed. If you hear anything that causes alarm, you tell Rebecca. You are our inside observer, the one who knows his voice and patterns best. Your mother will know you are listening. That is your protection for her. Jordan nodded slowly, accepting the role. Denise, Marcus said, his tone grave, this requires you to face him directly, to stand in front of the man who tried to kill you and pretend to capitulate. It requires acting. Can you do that? I thought of the cut brake line, the smell of the tampered plug, the fear that had lived in my house for weeks. I thought of Jordan's shattered trust. Yes, I can do that. I will call him tomorrow. Good. Rebecca handed me a sheet of paper. Here is a script for the call. Keep it natural, but hit these points. You are scared. You are tired of the conflict. You have what he wants. You will bring it to him Monday morning for a final discussion. Do not mention Jordan. Do not mention me or Marcus. You are acting alone, pressured by his threats and his money." I took the paper. The words were simple. A performance of surrender. We spent the next hour going over logistics. The concealed camera was a button. The microphone was a pendant. They showed me how to activate them with a discreet click. We rehearsed the timeline. 9:15 arrival, 9:28 broadcast, 9:30 exit and police arrival. After Marcus and Rebecca left, promising to return the next day with the equipment, Jordan and I were alone again. The living room felt different, charged with a new purpose. "Are you sure about this, Mom?" he asked, his earlier determination giving way to concern. "It is the surest way," I said. A quiet legal filing could drag on for months. He could post bail, harass us, try something else. This ends it publicly and quickly. He will be in custody before he has time to react. I'll be listening to every word. I know. That is why I can do it. I managed a small, tight smile. Your father taught me one useful thing, how to perform under pressure. Tomorrow, I make the call. Monday, I help end this. I picked up the script and studied it. The words were a weapon. My fear, which was real, would be the bait. My anger, which was colder and sharper than any knife, would be the engine. The performance would be my masterpiece. And when the curtain fell, the audience of his peers would deliver the verdict. It was almost over. The call to Robert was scheduled for 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Marcus advised a time when he would likely be at home, relaxed, perhaps overconfident. I spent the morning cleaning the house, a mechanical process that kept my hands busy. Jordan stayed in his room. I could hear the low murmur of a video game. He was avoiding me, or perhaps just avoiding the tension that filled the common spaces. At 3:50, I went to my bedroom and closed the door. I had the script on my phone. I practiced the lines in a low whisper, trying to inject the right mixture of fear and weary resignation into my voice. At 4 o'clock exactly, I dialed his number from my personal phone. I had disabled the call recording feature. Simplicity was key. He answered after 3 rings. "Denise." His tone was cautious, but there was an undercurrent of expectation. "Robert, I got your message, the check." I let a slight tremble enter my voice. "I've thought about what you said. I'm listening." His voice was smooth, encouraging. I'm tired of being afraid. I don't want any more trouble. I have what you're looking for. The files from Jordan's old computer." A sharp intake of breath. "Go on." "I want this to be over. I'll bring them to you. But I want to talk first. I want your word that this ends. No more calls, no more accidents. You leave me and Jordan alone for good." "You have my word," he said quickly, too quickly. "Where and when?" "Your house. Tomorrow morning, before your workday starts. 9:15. We talk. I give you the files. You give me your word, face to face. Then we're done." There was a pause. I could picture him calculating. A meeting at his home on his territory before his important Monday partner meeting. It would appeal to his sense of control. "Alone?" he asked. "Yes, alone. I'm not bringing anyone into this. I just want it finished." "All right, 9:15 tomorrow, my house. Come to the front door. I'll be waiting." His voice had regained its full, confident charm. He believed he had won. "I'm glad you're seeing reason, Denise. This is best for everyone, especially Jordan." "I'll see you tomorrow," I said, and ended the call. I sat on the edge of my bed, my hands steady. The performance had been adequate. The hook was set. At 6, Marcus and Rebecca returned. They came in through the back door carrying a small case. We gathered in the living room. Jordan came down and joined us. "The call was successful," I reported. "He agreed. He believes I'm capitulating." "Good," Marcus said. He opened the case. Inside were 2 items, a navy blue jacket button with a tiny lens embedded in it and a simple silver pendant on a chain. "The button is the camera. The pendant is the microphone and transmitter. The battery lasts for 4 hours. We will be in a van 2 blocks away, monitoring both audio and video. Jordan and Rebecca will be here, listening to the audio feed. Rebecca handed me the jacket, a lightweight blazer I would not normally wear, but it looked professional and unremarkable. Put this on. We need to test the fit and the sightline. I put on the blazer. Rebecca fastened the button camera. She then handed me the pendant. I put it on. She used a tablet to connect to the devices. A live video feed from the button camera appeared on the screen, showing a slightly low angle of the living room wall. Walk around. Let's see. I walked from the living room into the kitchen and back. The video was clear, stable. The audio, when I spoke, was crisp. The angle is good. It will capture his face if you are standing close, as you will be when you hand him the folder, Rebecca said. Remember to activate both devices when you get out of your car. A single click on the pendant turns everything on. We will confirm receipt. And the folder? I asked. Marcus produced a slim, legal-sized folder. Inside were 20 pages of carefully selected documents. The first page was a summary of the inflated invoices from Apex Logistics. The second page showed the forged authorization with Roberts and Marcus's digital signatures side by side. The rest were supporting bank transfer records. It was enough to make his blood run cold, but not the full suite of evidence. This is the prop. Hand it to him. Let him look at it. His reaction will be part of the broadcast. We rehearsed the sequence. My arrival. The handoff. My lines. This is what you wanted. This ends it. Your word, remember? We practiced keeping my face in frame, speaking clearly for the microphone. After an hour, we were satisfied. Marcus and Rebecca packed up their equipment, leaving me the jacket and pendant for tomorrow. Be ready at 8:30. We will pick you up and drive you to his neighborhood. You will take your own car from there for the final approach. We need his security cameras to see you arriving alone. They left. Jordan finally spoke. What do I do while you're there? You listen with Rebecca. If you hear anything that sounds wrong, you tell her. She will relay it to Marcus. I looked at him. It will be hard to listen to. It's harder to do nothing, he said. The last traces of the confused young man from yesterday were gone. In their place was a resolute, angry son. The transformation was painful to witness, but necessary. We ate a quiet dinner. We did not talk about tomorrow. We talked about mundane things. A movie he wanted to see, a leak in the community center roof I'd noticed. It was a fragile, mutual agreement to pretend, for one more evening, that our world was not about to change irrevocably. That night, I laid out my clothes. The blazer, a plain white shell, black trousers, flat shoes. I placed the pendant on top of the blazer. I checked the folder was in my work bag. I did not barricade my door. The fear of an intruder had been replaced by a focused anticipation. The final move was mine to make now. I lay in the dark, running through the timeline. 9:15, arrival. 9:28, broadcast. 9:30, exit. 15 minutes. That was all it would take to dismantle a life he had built on lies and theft. 15 minutes to avenge the weeks of terror, the violation of my home, the betrayal of our son. My anger was no longer a cold block. It was a sharp, precise instrument, honed and ready. Tomorrow, I would not just be delivering evidence. I would be delivering justice, packaged in a performance he would never forget. The stage was set. The players were ready. All that remained was for the curtain to rise. The gray sedan I drove looked like any other car on the tree-lined street of Robert's upscale neighborhood. At 9:12, I turned onto his block. The houses were large, set back from the road, monuments to quiet success. My hands were steady on the wheel. I clicked the pendant once, a faint tactile bump under my fingers, a signal to the van that the performance had begun. I parked in his semicircular driveway at 9:14. I took the folder from my bag. I stepped out of the car, the morning air cool. I walked to the massive front door, my flat shoes silent on the stone. I rang the bell. The door opened after a few seconds. Robert stood there, dressed in a tailored shirt and trousers, ready for his video conference. He offered a tight, victorious smile. "Denise, come in." I stepped into the foyer, the marble floor echoing. The house smelled of lemon polish and coffee. "Let's make this quick," I said, my voice carrying the weariness I had practiced. He led me to his home office, a room of dark wood and leather. A large monitor was set up on his desk, dark for now. He did not offer me a seat. He turned to face me, his arms crossed. "You have the files." I held out the folder. "This is what you wanted, the copies. The originals are in a safe place, with instructions to be released if anything happens to me or Jordan." This was a lie, but a necessary one to sell my fear. He took the folder, his eyes flickering with a hunger he could not disguise. He opened it. His smile vanished as he saw the first page. His face paled, then flushed with anger. "Where did you get this?" "It doesn't matter. You have it now. Your word, Robert. This ends. You leave us alone. Permanently." He looked up from the papers, his eyes cold. "You think this is a transaction? You bring me stolen property and make demands?" He took a step closer. "Who are you working with? Thorne? It has to be Thorne." "This ends now," I repeated, holding my ground, ensuring the button camera captured his face. He laughed, a short, harsh sound. "It ends when I say it ends. You walking in here with this does not end anything. It proves you're a threat I have tried to handle with discretion, but you refuse to be sensible." He threw the folder onto his desk. "The breaks were a message. The wiring was a clearer message. You ignored them. You involve my son. You involve my business." His admission, clear and on recording, sent a jolt through me. I kept my expression neutral. "Your messages were received. This is my reply." He stared at me, his composure cracking. "You have no idea what you're playing with. I built this, all of this. I will not let you and that washed-up has been Marcus Thorne tear it down. That money was mine. I earned it. The firm is mine." "By stealing from your partners," I stated. "By taking what was owed," he snapped, his voice rising. "They were content to coast on my work. I created the value. I diverted the risk. That money was a fee for my vision." He was pacing now, gesturing wildly, fully engaged in justifying himself to his captured audience of one. The microphone was picking up every word. A soft chime came from his computer monitor. The screen lit up, showing a video conference login screen. The time was 9:28. Robert glanced at it, distracted. My meeting. He moved toward the desk, reaching for the mouse. At that moment, the screen changed. The conference login vanished. In its place, a new window appeared. It showed a clean, professional presentation title, "Evidence of Embezzlement and Fraud, Robert Briggs." Robert froze, his hand outstretched. My secure phone vibrated once in my pocket, the signal. The broadcast had begun. On the screen, the first slide appeared, the inflated Apex Logistics invoice. Then the next, the forged authorization. Then a photograph of Robert from the parking garage, handing an envelope to the nominee. Then a scan of the $15,000 cashier's check. Audio began to play, clips from our conversation just moments ago. The breaks were a message. The wiring was a clearer message. That money was mine. I earned it. Worst Teeds. Robert stood utterly still, his back to me, staring at the monitor. I could see the reflection of the slides in the window behind him, flashing across his horrified face. A small box in the corner of the screen showed the live video feeds of 4 of his senior partners, their expressions shifting from confusion to shock to dawning anger. "What is this?" he whispered. Then he roared, "What is this?" He grabbed the mouse, clicking frantically. He punched keys on the keyboard. The display did not change. The evidence continued its methodical march across the screen, his own voice providing the narration. He turned to me, his eyes wild with panic and rage. You did this!" "It's over, Robert," I said, my voice calm in the room now filled with the sound of his confession. "They've all seen it. They've all heard it." He took a stumbling step toward me, his hands clenching into fists. I did not move. I held his gaze. The rational part of his mind, the part that calculated risk, must have seen the futility. The violent impulse faded from his eyes, replaced by a hollow, gutted understanding. His empire had collapsed in 60 seconds. From outside, the sound of car doors closing. Then the clear, authoritative knock on the front door. Robert flinched as if struck. He looked from me to the monitor, where his partners' faces were now a gallery of condemnation, to the door. "That will be the police," I said. "They have the full evidence package. They're here for you." I turned and walked out of his office, leaving him standing amidst the ruins of his life. I walked through the foyer and opened the front door. 2 uniformed officers and a detective in a suit stood there. I stepped aside. "He's in the office. He is not armed. He is expecting you." The detective nodded. "Ms. Watkins, please wait outside." I walked down the driveway to my car. The van was already pulling away from the curb down the street, its job done. I got into my sedan, my body beginning to tremble now that the adrenaline was receding. I clicked the pendant off. I sat and watched as the officers led Robert out in handcuffs. He did not look at me. He kept his head down, a broken man being guided into the back of a police cruiser. I started the car and drove home. The streets passed in a blur. The cold, sharp instrument of my anger was gone, leaving behind a vast, empty quiet. Jordan was waiting on the front porch. He stood up as I parked. I got out of the car, and he met me halfway up the walk. He didn't say anything. He just put his arms around me and held on. I rested my head on his shoulder, and for the first time in weeks, I felt safe. Later that afternoon, Marcus called. "It is done. The partners have convened an emergency board meeting. They are filing their own charges and cooperating fully with the district attorney. The evidence is overwhelming. He will not see the outside of a courtroom for a very long time." "Thank you, Marcus," I said. There was a pause on the line. "No, Denise. Thank you. Your courage was the linchpin. He confessed on your recording. That was the final, irrefutable piece." He cleared his throat. "The financial restitution processes will be slow, but you and Jordan will be secure. The firm will make it right." We exchanged a few more logistical details, then ended the call. It was a transaction completed, a business arrangement concluded with success. There was no warmth, but there was a solid, mutual respect. In the days that followed, the community whispered. The story made the local business news. Prominent partner, arrested for embezzlement. The details of the attempted murders did not become public, shielded by the ongoing investigation and the DA's strategy. That was fine with me. I did not need the notoriety. Jordan returned to his classes, quieter, older. We began to talk, really talk, in ways we hadn't since he was a child. We talked about trust, about patterns, about how to recognize when something is too good to be true. The wound was deep, but it was clean. I kept my bookkeeping business. The work was the same, but my focus was different. I was no longer just balancing books to survive. I was building a future on my own terms with my son beside me. The fear had been burned away, leaving a clear-eyed determination. The house was just a house again, not a fortress. The doors locked, but they were not barricaded. Sometimes, in the deep quiet of the night, I think of the glint of the severed brake line in my flashlight beam. It was the first cut, but it was not the last word. The last word was the click of the handcuffs, the silent condemnation on a video screen, the steady weight of my son's arm around my shoulders. Justice is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is simply the absence of fear and the return of an ordinary, peaceful morning. That was the revenge I sought, and that was the revenge I won.